whether it is from the origin, where it came from, whether from the aspect of sustainability and security. It is known that it was founded in 2007, 2008 by someone that is unknown. And they say...
Okay, so this is a classic objection. The ambiguity of Bitcoin. And when I say the ambiguity of Bitcoin, they're referring to the ambiguity of the issuer. The one who issued, or not the issuer, I should say, the one who initially coded Bitcoin, put pen to paper, came up with the white paper, coded the original program, launched the network. Who is this individual? How can we trust him? How do we know him? That's the original objection. But the problem with this objection is that it's not comparing apples and apples, it's comparing apples and oranges. Meaning that if I were to issue something like a token, like a piece of paper, like a certificate, and I was to say, yeah, I'm going to back this certificate with gold, and I have no idea who this person is, whether he's telling the truth or not, then fair enough. We want to know how reliable this person is, audit his gold supplies. No, there needs to be some kind of checks and balances so he's not ripping someone off. But the Bitcoin network doesn't function that way. And we'll expand upon that a bit further. Let's continue what he says.
That his name is Satoshi Nakamoto. And this person later on, who was supposed to be Japanese, the person with that name denied having anything to do with it. Then,
so what he's referring to here is an event which happened early on in the history of Bitcoin, where because Satoshi Nakamoto's name, his pen name online was Satoshi Nakamoto, it was speculated that there was another person with the same name, Satoshi Nakamoto, who lived in America. And people said, yeah, this is Satoshi. Now, anyone can name themselves whatever they want to call themselves on an online platform. It doesn't mean that he used his real name. It's a pseudonym. It was just like how someone might be called Abdullah123 Big Boy on his account. That doesn't mean his actual name is Abdullah, or these numbers are his name, or anything like that. So what he's referring to is the speculation of some of the early Bitcoiners as to try to find out who Satoshi Nakamoto was. And the guy who denied being him was basically some innocent guy whose name happened to be the same as Satoshi Nakamoto. And that's basically it. There's no controversy in that. It's just that people thought he was him. And he said, no, I'm not. And that was the end of it. What was interesting though, was that I think he lived close to Hal Finney. But that's not the discussion altogether.
the person came from Australia or Canada claiming to be the one who founded it.
What he's now referring to now is another person who was a fraud called, called Craig Wright, another person who claimed to be Satoshi Nakamoto. But the point is that there are many people who claim to be him. Not many people. There's only one person who claimed to be him. Others thought he might be the other Japanese guy who's called Satoshi Nakamoto. Somehow speculated that it could be Elon Musk. Someone speculated it could be Hal Finney. The point is, he's an enigma. Who he actually was is unknown. But as we will discuss, is that even important? We'll see.
But generally speaking, no one knows where originally it came from.
Yeah, so again, it's not entirely true. I mean, we know where it came from. It came from this individual. We know the technology behind it, because the technology that Satoshi Nakamoto came up with, or the ideas he came up with and the technology behind it that implemented Bitcoin, wasn't novel. So if you can imagine, Bitcoin is made up of many components. You can almost think of it like a car. Car has a spark plug, it has cylinders, it has wheels, it has an axle, it has all these different things. So imagine someone who wanted to design a brand new car and basically use parts from other cars. And he formed this new car from parts from other cars. He didn't make a brand new car. He just refashioned what already existed before. So things like proof of work and the hashing algorithm and all these kind of things. All these things existed way before Satoshi Nakamoto. What Satoshi Nakamoto did, however, was piece these things together in a manner which was very unique and novel, that allowed for the first time in human history to have scarcity and ownership in the digital realm. But again, we'll talk about that as we move on. So to conclude this topic about the ambiguity of the founder, who he was, it's not actually important. It's not actually important at all. Let me explain why. Number one, we need to be fair when assessing this topic. And when I say fair, I mean we can't have one rule for Bitcoin and another rule for everything else. So for example, who was the first person who issued paper money? It issued currency for paper, or who started using gold for money, or who was the first person who's even what is even the name of the first central banker? I mean, there are many things we don't know the names of, but it doesn't matter because we can see the system, we can analyze the system, we can explore the system, and we can check the system. Or there are many things, for example, who have unknown origins, like for example Euclid, a mathematician who you could say founded Euclidean geometry, or even Pythagoras. These are names which we've used to coin the founders, quote unquote, of mathematical ideas, and we have no idea who this person really is. And on top of that, people like Euclid, for example, those are names, but we don't actually know if that's actually was his name, who he actually was, or anything about him. But we can still look at what he said, look at what he put forward, and we can analyze it for ourselves and see whether or not we can use it. No one says, oh, well, because we don't know who Pythagoras' theorem was, or Pythagoras was, or because we don't know who Euclid was, that we don't know if there are any backdoors or hidden errors in his code. No, we can analyze and see its validity or not, and then we can accept it or not. And it actually doesn't matter who this individual or individuals are. So we can see here that ambiguity of Satoshi Nakamoto is irrelevant, considering that the Bitcoin code base is open. You can read every line of code, and you can even add to the code and so on and so forth, which we'll discuss a bit more in the future. So it's not really an objection. And we've already covered this in a previous video, so please check out. I'll put in the description below any particular videos that we've covered before, which deals with these particular objections. And you probably find, if you look at our channel, we've covered every single thing he's mentioned here, probably 2 years ago. So we'll put links to each one in the description below. Let's continue.